But
Yeah.
here we got some more footage of the game. Can you just break it down for people who've never seen this before or this style? What is this all about?
Yeah, so SpellForce 3, it's a fantasy RTS and RPG mix. So we're trying to elevate the RTS genre by mixing it with RPG elements. So you get the best of both worlds. The SpellForce series was always known for that. So it started in 2003. There was a second installment in 2006. So for more than 10 years, there was no big title in the series. And we felt like since it still has a very big following, that we are going to bring it back and just make a very modern game and build it up on the pillars that made the first ones popular. And this is really combining these two genres. And this time around, we were like, hey, we get to expand on that, so we have to make it like more complex, offering more depth in both genres. And yeah, that's where we end up with. And also, I mean, we have a really big like story focus and mode, so I'd say like it's in this regard, it's very much like Baldur's Gate or Pillars of Eternity.
Nice.
So we have tons of dialogues in there. And the really cool thing, like you can not only experience it alone, you can play it together. There's a co-op mode.
Whoa, okay, that's very different that you don't hear too often.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at this, and the only experience I have at RTS is StarCraft. And
Okay.
this is very different. So what do you think makes this game good in its field as an RTS and RPG game?
So we'll go to the RTS gameplay in a little bit. This is it usually starts out, with a little RPG. I mean, we got a cutscene at first. We had some dialogues. Then you got to be explained where you are in the world. You got your objectives, and then eventually you get the base. The cool thing about the RTS is, a game like StarCraft is very focused on micromanaging your workers. So you're clicking all the time, and it's very hectic, right? SpellForce 3 is not about like very hectic and click-fast gameplay. So in the end, like you don't need to have the highest or the best reaction time. It's more about the overall strategy, and we achieve that by not like offering direct worker controls, but you rather just assign your workers on what they should do and they do it, right? But on the other hand, like we offer depth by having resources, and the resources, so you can only harvest them in the sector when you claim the sector. So to expand, you need to first claim the sector and then like build the resource gathering building.
Wow.
So what are we looking at right now?
Yeah, so this is some more dialogue before the RTS. So now we are getting the base.
So building the storyline.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's very quest based. So you got like tons of. There are always a main line, and then like there are tons of side quests, and we call this thing inspections. So there's a lot of stuff to discover in the world that's. The cool thing here, we can reward the player by just getting some better armor, some better items, some better sword, or for fighting creeps, you get experience points, and you can make your hero better, right? And then they are more powerful in fighting. So, this is the last fight before we get the base. So what's actually also cool is like this radial menu that you saw. It's basically a way to have all the spells that you can use on a target all in one place. And
you can use
select
multiple
them.
at one time?
Yeah, sure. So there are
That's
like
cool.
4 heroes. You can see that in the top left corner of the screen. They all have their like equipped spells and abilities. They also have consumables like mana potions, health potions, and to not make them die or make them cast more spells.
Is there any like side quest that you feel is kind of one of those that you're like, oh my god, I'm so happy we put this in the game?
There are tons. I mean, for me, the special side quests are those that have a very deep relation to the other SpellForce games.
Right.
So, story-wise, the game is a prequel. So it's actually hundreds of years before the first SpellForce game. Because SpellForce 1 started with at the end of a really devastating war that put the world into pieces. We are before that war. So you see as a player what intrigues led to the war and how it all came together. And this is what that the intro was referring to. So we're in this fantasy world, and in a fantasy world, like mages and magic plays a big role, right? But because the mages caused another small war, the magic was banned.
Oh,
so
wow.
if you're using magic, like all the characters in the game world, they will be like, oh, don't do that because that caused the war.
But what would the world do without magic?
Yeah, I mean, there's still magic. You just have to hide it. Right?
Yes, yes, and what I really like is the amount of detail that you guys put to this. It seems like you really push the envelope. Knowing that you guys came in, you have a brand new, type of way to build this, game from the ground up, but still be influenced by the others from the
Exactly.
past.
Also, like in terms of the art style, SpellForce 1 and 2 were more, I'd say, closer to Warcraft. But we wanted to give this more like a Lords of the Rings feel and look, so like a more realistic looking.
I used to play that game so much, Battle for Middle Earth.
Oh yes.
Yeah, exactly.
A long time ago.
Yes.
That's
That's kind of what when I first looked at it. That's kind of what I was vibing off of. Yeah.
So for the people that don't know the rest of the storyline of SpellForce, who are we actually fighting in this game?
So the intro starts off by introducing the new threat in the world, and it's a disease called the bloodburn. Basically, all of a sudden, people are just dying, and you don't know why. Like the queen sends you to discover like what is happening and what's going on there. So you have to find out, and by that, like, you find out that there's something more behind it. It obviously has to do with magic. I don't want to spoil too much.
No spoilers. No, thank you. What would you say would be a good way to kind of intro this? I know it kind of leads you off slowly, kind of getting to know the story, character building. Is there any character that you like?
So you can create your main hero.
Sure.
Like you can customize the appearance. You can play a male or a female hero, and then like in the game world, there are actual characters that you can make to join you, right?
Sure.
So here, like the RPG element, like really blends in really
That's
well.
cool.
So, and you have just 4 hero slots, but you got to meet way more than 4 heroes,
Right.
and they all have like their special features and takes and abilities. So it depends on your style of play.
Right.
We wanted to give the player a lot of choice. This is also like it has a non-linear like story and campaign structure. So in the end, like you get a world map, and you can say like, hey, I want to go to this land and see what's going on there. And depending on my actions, it will actually change sometimes.
Man, this looks incredible. Now.